If you or someone you know has diabetes, you may have built up an extra supply of test strips and lancets. That's where we come in. We'll buy the supplies that you don't need and resell them to those in need to prevent waste. Help us make diabetes management more affordable. Visit us at teststripswithaz.com.
All right, joining me right now is going to take on Syuri Kondo, June 22nd, UFC Greenville. The Spider Monkey is here. Ashley Yoder. Ashley, how are you?
I'm really good. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So before we get into the big fight coming up, you have been very busy as of late, and more specifically, you had a very busy weekend taking part in some exclusive training. Saw it on social media. Talk about what your weekend was like and how that all came to be.
So I was invited as one of the only 4 females to ever be able to go to what's called the Lululemon huddle. It's usually for men only. It's a time that they, I guess, bring guys on board once a year and kind of have like, it's kind of like a retreat. You know, this theme of this weekend was like perfect for me. I honestly didn't know what I was getting signed into. Someone asked me, hey, do you want to do this? And I was like, hey, I mean, my weekend's open. They're like, yeah, you get some training in. They didn't give me any details, by the way. So to start with that, but when I got there, I walked up, you know, it's a 3-day weekend. You stay there the whole weekend, Friday night, Saturday, all day Saturday and Sunday. So I had no idea what I was getting myself into. I'm like, they're probably gonna make me do a yoga class, and I'm not really good at yoga, but I'll do it, you know, whatever. So as I get there, I walk up to like 2 silver like tubs, and I'm like, those look like ice tubs. There's no way these people are going to make us do an ice bath at 9 at night. Like, nope, they did. So that kind of set the tone for the week, right? So like it was a very mental endurance, physical endurance. That was like the theme of the weekend. So it was everything I didn't think I needed, but it was so refreshing, and it couldn't have come at a more perfect time. So I made a lot of new friends, and I learned new breathing techniques, you know, mental strategies, and I learned how long I can actually plank, which was 16 minutes, which I never done in my life. So it was really cool. It was definitely an experience for sure.
I was just going to ask you about that because I'm not as in good of shape as you are. Obviously, you're a professional athlete, you're a professional fighter. I could plank for a little while, but 16 minutes is incredible. You know, as you're starting to get tired, did you have people kind of like hollering at you saying like, come on, you could do this? And like, what got you through all of that?
Yeah. So actually never timed more than 3 minutes in a plank. I when they told me what time it was, I didn't believe them. They had to show me like a timestamp. So I was like, the cool thing was we all started out, mind you, this was after like a Navy SEAL had just put us through like a really gnarly workout. Like I'm still sore right now from it. And that was on it was on Saturday that we did that. So I was like, we did all these workouts together. We like pushed each other through it. You know, we had already had a couple mental exercises. So we were already kind of feeling close. But then at the end, the Navy SEAL, like, I just thought we were like in a position where he could talk, like, all right, get in a plank position. So he's talking to us. But then he's like pacing. He keeps speaking about failure. And I'm like, oh my gosh, we're doing this till failure. Like, we're doing this till failure. So as people were dropping out, though, I guess I was cooler than the other couple people down at the other end, because they came down and they were coaching me through my breathing. And actually the breathing that we learned the first night was like the Wim Hof type breathing. And honestly, that gave me the mental focus to push through. It was really that, like, it really was. I've never planked that long in my life. So it was definitely an interesting feeling. It definitely, like, if you've ever heard of Wim Hof, and I was like anti Wim Hof for a while. I don't know why, but I was. And then after this weekend, I'm a believer, man, like, for real. So, but yeah, they were very encouraging. And mind you, we had already worked out for almost an hour and a half before that was even what we were doing. So it was crazy.
What a weekend that must have been. Unbelievable.
Yeah,
working hard. Well, it's good. You're getting ready for a big fight, so it's nice to test the physical and the mental stamina, and you definitely got to do that over the weekend. Met some cool people in the process as you get ready to step back in the Octagon on June 22nd, taking on Syuri Kondo. We'll get into the fight in a minute, but back in November, you took on Amanda Cooper in Denver, and you picked up your first official win in the UFC. And on paper, you look at it because you had lost all three of your previous UFC fights to that point, but they were all very close fights. And I was actually in Albany covering that event when you made your debut against Justine Kish, and I had actually scored that fight for you. I thought it was kind of a rotten decision, if we're being honest, not just because you're sitting in front of me on a video screen. But, the fights with Angela Hill, the fights with Mackenzie Dern, very competitive, close fights. What did that feel like to get your hand raised and be on the good side of a decision this time around?
Man, it was a blessing. It's unfortunate because performance-wise, I had a lot going on in my family. As I don't know if you knew this, my coach, my head coach, main coach, couldn't make it. He got stuck in Brazil, so we had a shift in coaching last minute, so it was a little stressful on that side, just getting everybody on the same page. And actually, even all the way up until they closed the cage doors, I was freaking out because my coach cut my hand while he was wrapping it, and I was bleeding pretty bad. So I was like, it was just like one thing after another, like wrong clothes. They gave me the wrong clothes, and the only thing I can take away from that fight is that, like, man, perseverance, because everything was saying no, no, no. And I was like, it might not have been my best performance, but emotionally that was like crazy to get through, because in my previous performances, as you said, they were very close fights. I actually, from head top people have been told, they didn't agree with the judges. So that's very touching to me that, the people that pretty much mean the most thought, I took a couple of those wins away. So that meant something to me, that I think that kept the wind in my sails, because you keep doing stuff and the door shut in your face is kind of hard, because, at the end of the day, you go in there and you only get paid half for doing all the work that you thought, when I rewatched that Justine Kish fight, like, I've never lost a fight and been like, oh, why did I lose that fight? But I just remember I was in the hospital getting staples in my head, and I kept watching that fight, and I kept looking at my coach. I was like, man, what did I do wrong? Like, what did I do wrong? I just don't get it. Like, I don't see it. And so, it's been hard, and that's pretty much my career in fighting. It's been a lot of upsets, but I've also had a lot of great things happen. I'm in the UFC. I got to be on The Ultimate Fighter, and you know what? I still have a smile on my face. I love my job. I love performing. So to me, at the end of the day, is, that's what I want to do. So it's all right.
Do you feel like you have that good energy, that good mojo right now? I mean, you had some perseverance you had to overcome to get to this point, some perseverance heading into the Cooper fight. You get that first win. You've been in every UFC fight very competitively. Are you starting to feel things teeter the other way now that you get a little bit of positive momentum going moving forward?
Yeah, definitely. I feel like it's just tapping into, like, making sure I'm confident and, going in there, like, believing that I'm well deserved to be in there as much as anyone else. I've been put against a lot of tough girls that, I knew before I even stepped in the Octagon as professionals before I even thought about fighting. So I think, in the back of my head, that was always like the thing that held me back. But, at the end of the day, we all bust our ass. We get in there and, I can hang with these girls. So I think it's given me confidence, and, I'm ready to get my hopefully first submission in the UFC or, finish of some sort. So I'm excited about that too.
Now you get Syuri Kondo. She's lost her last couple of fights. She's looking to get back to her winning ways. Did you know much about her when you got the call to fight her on June 22nd?
No, of course, strawweights, I've seen them all fight. I watch the fights, especially if it's strawweights, no matter who it is. So I've seen her fight. It wasn't like someone that I thought would be on my radar. But at the end of the day, like, I just want to fight. So you can put me up, obviously, whoever, and I'll take it. So stylistically wise, I think it's going to be a fun fight. We both like to strike. We also, I like to go on the ground. She has some takedown stuff too. So should be a pretty fun fight for the fans too. So.
Are you excited to check out the rolling landscapes and sprawling hills of Greenville, South Carolina?
Man, I've never been there. I'm from Indiana, but I've never been to South Carolina, so I'm pretty pumped about checking it out. I've heard great things about it, so hopefully it'll be nice and warm, because California is freezing right now.
Is it really?
Oh man, it's like barely 60 degrees here, so it's freezing and rainy, by the way. Yes. I'm
in Massachusetts. We don't get to hear people on the West Coast say things like that to us.
No,
and have me
man,
be like, wow.
This is insane.
I know you talked about you're hoping the submission comes, you're hoping you get your first UFC finish, and I know the prediction thing is kind of a thing of the past these days with the UFC and fighting. Some fighters like to do it, others don't. Like, when you envision this fight, how do you see it playing out? Like, how do you see it ending? Do you see a submission, or you just see your hand raised?
I always visualize my hand being raised. That's one thing that I've gotten better with, with my coaches, my strength and conditioning coaches really working with me on visualization. But yeah, I don't like it. It's the same as like, you won't ever hear me call someone out. I don't like to pick my poison. I feel like that's karma. And that's just me, like I'll take it however it is. I don't go in. I don't go in with a game plan just because I don't want that game plan to fail. Like, I just want to go in there and have fun. I know I have all the tools to do what I got to do. I'm aware of what she's capable of, but I go in and it's like a blank slate. Like, I'm about to paint the canvas with blood. Like, that's like my style. I like bloody fights. And I think that's why a lot of fans love me. So it's just a performance thing for me.
I think that the women's strawweight division is one of the more consistent and one of the most exciting divisions in the sport right now. In fact, I've gone on record many times said women's strawweight never lets you down. There's never a boring fight. There's always a lot of action in your fights. Like, it's just a very fun division. And I'm not asking you to call anybody out. That's not my style. But, with the win on June 22nd, like, where do you think that puts you in the conversation of women in that division? Like, what kinds of opportunities, what kinds of opponents do you see this leading to?
I just hope it leads to a quicker fight. I mean, after my last fight, I asked to fight before I even left Colorado, and it's 7 months before I fight again. So my only wish is that I get to fight sooner. So.
All right. Last thing for me, obviously, being in the UFC, it's a little different than fighting regionally and fighting in different promotions. It's about promoting yourself. It's about putting yourself out there. And even being in the media, sometimes you got to put yourself in positions that are a little bit out of your comfort zone. You got to get in, like for me, like I've done all audio podcasts until like 6 months ago. Now I'm on video and learning these different things. Like, what kinds of things have you learned about yourself? Like, how much do you feel you've grown over the last 2.5 years or so since signing with the UFC? Like, what are some of the things that you've done that you feel like have brought you out of your comfort zone outside of the cage?
I started doing a little bit of sports modeling, and that's something that, when I was little, my mom always forced me to do all these little pageant things, but it wasn't my thing. Now I'm getting, as I get older, I'm more comfortable, I'm more confident in my body, and it's fun. It's something different, and it's just been an opportunity that I've had. So I think that would be like just confidence, building my own confidence, and kind of just seeing where it takes me. Like, you never know. So, yeah, I think pretty much that's the biggest thing.
That's great. Ashley Yoder joining us in the program, getting ready to take on Syuri Kondo. June 22nd, UFC Greenville, South Carolina. Should be a lot of fun. You can catch it all on ESPN+. Ashley, before you get out of here, let the folks know where to find and follow you on the web, social media, shout-outs, sponsors, etc. The floor is yours.
Yeah, I am the Spider Monkey Yoda on Instagram. That's where I'm most active. Twitter, I'm Ashley Yoder MMA, same as Facebook. You probably should follow my Instagram because I put a lot of funny stuff on there. I don't take myself too serious. I like to make people laugh. So it's just filled a bunch of stupid videos, but it's always great. My dogs catch a lot of my pictures in there because that's my world. So, but yeah, I'd like to shout out, all my coaches, my new management, Iridium, they just put me on with you. They are exciting. I'm pretty pumped to be working with them. And then, just my team, Trifecta, UFC PI put me on Trifecta. So, I have a good team behind me, and it's finally, all starting to come together. We're getting closer to the fight. So we're right in the heat of the fight camp, and I'm pretty pumped about it. So
awesome. Thank you, Ashley. I really appreciate it. All the best to you heading into the fight next month.
Thank you.